This is The Stash, and you're listening to the Business Bottom Line Podcast, coming to you from the Jewel City of the Mountains, Greenville, Tennessee. We're in the foothills of the Smokies, talking business with people just like you who are responsible for the bottom line, sharing business tips to inspire, inform, and improve, and turn your bottom line from red to black. We have a very special guest with us this week on the podcast, coming to us from the other end of the state in Memphis, Tennessee. He is the owner and operator of Blues City Towing, Mr. Evan Mueller, and we're going to get acquainted as we start off talking about iPhones and Androids with Mr. Evan.
14 or 15 years ago when that was a relatively new thing. And I didn't have a problem with it, but I switched to iPhone back then when I was 18 or 19 years old, and I just stuck with it. And nowadays it seems to be the best one to give you a little bit of control over your privacy. Though the reality is, if you're worried about that, you shouldn't have one at all. But Apple seems to do the better job of at least giving you a little bit of an option of opting out of being tracked on some of that stuff. So
yeah,
I'm sticking with Apple for now myself.
Well,
it's just extremely functional.
Once you get started on one platform, it's kind of hard to change because the details are different and it's tough.
It's difficult. Sometimes it's for the better, but it's always very difficult.
Now, you said a little bit about your family. You told me about your grandma, but now tell me about the wife and kids and what we have.
My wife is a registered nurse, and she has worked in the emergency room her whole career. So she's had a fun run of it the last couple of years here.
Wow.
With COVID and everything, but that's what she does. And then my daughter will be 2 at the end of April, and my son was born just over a month ago.
Oh my goodness.
So we've been rather busy around the house trying to entertain one who wants to be entertained and keep occupied the one that just needs fed and cleaned up. So it's a chore, but it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And, we're very fortunate.
Well, the children are such a blessing. They bring a lot of challenges, but man, they bring a lot of joy along with it, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, are you a reader, Evan?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes, sir. I do a little bit of reading. Nowadays, I listen to audiobooks because
Sure.
I find it hard to find time to sit down and actually get into a book. But I'm in my vehicle a lot.
Well,
and, it's easy to listen to one. So,
yeah.
Yes.
That's cool. So tell me either a favorite book or something you've read recently that just really stood out to you.
I like John Steinbeck a lot. We studied some of his works in high school. And Grapes of Wrath is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Just the depiction of the trouble they were having with the crops not working and the soil was going bad. And they, all those folks moved out to California. And then when they got there, it turned out they didn't want them. And it all seemed very relevant. I actually re-listened to that one recently. And another one I listened to recently was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. And that one was also oddly relevant considering when it was written. Talking about government control and the way that the people in charge make you think one thing's happening when another isn't.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. That is relevant to our time. Now, when was that book written, Evan? How long has that been? I remember the title, but I haven't read it.
I'd have to Google it, but I mean it's 20th century.
Yeah.
For sure. If I remember from school, right, Ray Bradbury was a playwright.
Yeah.
And that was one of his novels.
Yeah. Interesting stuff how things get written as novels and then you see pieces of it become reality. It always intrigues me.
Sure. And I mean, it was intentional. Okay, 1953.
Okay.
When that was written, just for I wanted to get that in there, but
wow.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely intentionally written about a dystopian society, and the fire department starts fires instead of putting out fires. They're burning all the books so that they can control what everybody knows, and so that the government can control what people know, and they're trying to erase all of the knowledge that was there from anything that had happened before them. just interesting.
Yes, it is.
It's a dark book, but again, it's intentional. It just is there to make you think.
Yeah, really, really. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, anything that makes us think more deeply is a good thing, because most people do, in my opinion, humble opinion, don't think deeply enough. So things that help us think more deeply about what's happening around us is a good thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm 32. I was born in 1990, so I remember actual telephones and looking stuff up in books before you had computers at school with the internet on them.
Right.
And then when we got computers at school with the internet on them, it was a huge deal. So I remember a little bit of the time before what's essentially the modern age. And people just a few years younger than me, they're not going to sit down and read something. Most of them, they're not going to. That's why Instagram and all these things are popular. It's a 5-second, 10-second, 15-second clip to get your attention, grab your attention, make the point, and get out. And news media has become the same way. Mm-hmm. You get a headline that grabs your attention, you read a little bit of the article, and a lot of times if you read the whole article, you'll find a couple of sentences in there that refute the headline.
That's true.
But that's the reason for all of that is people's attention spans are getting shorter, and like you said, nobody wants to think too deeply or too critically, because that gets scary. And as they say, everything's not black and white. Everything is very nuanced and requires deep discussion, and nobody is allowed, at least in a public forum. It's hard to find people who are allowed to have time to make their point.
It's true. It's very true. No one wants to listen, and if it's the least bit controversial, there's a tendency to people want to shout down what they don't agree with, so they don't even hear what any opposing view is. It's
right, and those issues that get people so motivated to have a aggressive conversation with somebody else are the ones that should be talked about the most, but also in the most respectful and controlled ways. Right. You don't always have to agree with everybody, but you certainly should respect everybody, and that's a big problem we've got. You and I could stay on this podcast. You don't have a time limit. I mean, obviously we're not going to talk for 8 hours, but the reality is if you and I wanted to talk for 8 hours, nobody's going to stop us. If we had time to do it, we could do it.
Right.
On the news, they've got, 3.5, 4 minutes between commercial breaks to cram in whatever newsworthy thing might be on right then. It's a unfortunate format that many of us have to use to try to get information and try to communicate. It's almost impossible.
It is. Everything is almost a tease. That's how it comes out. Yes. There's not time to really delve into issues in a way that's helpful.
Right, in a way that's productive even.
Right. That's so true, so true. Well, let me ask you this. Now, I know you have, with 2 young babies and a business to run, you have all this spare time that you don't have anything to do. So tell me what your hobbies are, Evan.
I spend a lot of time outside if I can. I like to fish. I like to hunt. We have some property that borders my in-laws' property down in Mississippi in a county called Yalobusha County, and there's about 12,000 people in the whole county, so it's nice to get down there and get away. And people you do bump into are friendly, and it's not all the hustle and bustle of Memphis, which can be a bit chaotic. And really any city or town, a lot of people can relate to that. It doesn't matter how big of a town you live in. Getting out and breathing some fresh air, casting a line, whatever, shooting a rifle. That's what I do. So that's my spare time. My anxiety relief is getting down there and getting on a tractor.
That sounds good. I could take that in any day. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you do now, because you gave us just a sample there of how long the company's been around, but kind of tell us some of the history of the company and what drew you into it. Just give us a little bit of a background view of Blue City Towing.
Well, I have 6 cousins, 1 brother and 5 cousins on my dad's side, and that's the side of the family that has gotten into towing. And on Sunday afternoons growing up, the good old Southern way, everybody went to Meemaw and Granddaddy's on Sunday afternoon for lunch. And so as kids, we would a lot of times Granddaddy was always working, as is the nature of our 24/7 business. And so we'd end up in a tow truck with him, me and a couple of cousins or something. Occasionally would run police calls just being around Granddaddy. So I had that experience as a young person. And of course, we had no idea that Granddaddy was actually out there working really hard. We just thought it was cool to be in that truck and be out there and the police around and to watch everything come back and the road clear up. We thought that was a neat thing. But I actually went to school and studied music education. And when my wife got her RN, she graduated, and we decided to get married. And the way the public school system was going, I kind of had second thoughts about being involved in that. And some of the ways, I don't think the way they were trying to take the school system was wrong, but I didn't want to be on the transition team. As I mentioned earlier, transition can be rough.
It's true.
And as it turned out, Granddaddy was getting older and getting ill, and Dad had become more involved in the business out here. And I was like, look, you want to go work in Memphis? We'll get married. We'll go live up there. You can work in Memphis, and I'll start doing this. It's a family thing. Family businesses are dying out left and right. I want to keep that going, and I'll learn how to do that. And as it turned out, I enjoyed it a lot and was pretty decent at it.
Well, that's great. That's great. You're right, and there is something special about extending a family business like that into the next generation, and now you're a third generation. That's a special legacy for a family to have, and it says a lot about the family itself, because not all families can get along well enough to work together. And so that says something
true.
about your
my
family.
father and I have a very special relationship. I have friends and family, both, that would not work with their father or mother. I don't work with my mother. My mother does other things, but I have a very special relationship with my father to be able to work together every day and not kill one another.
Yeah.
And we're very grateful for that, because, like you said, that's certainly not always the case, and many times the more family that's involved, the more difficult things are for everybody.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I consider that a special blessing. I have a daughter that works with me in the business as well, and it is special. It is special.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and to have the genuine trust of a family member to help you with things in your business is something that can't be put into words. It's completely invaluable.
You're exactly right. That comfort that comes from not worrying about that is huge.
Yes.
It really is.
Yes.
So let's pull back a little bit and tell us what a day in your life looks like in your work life. Now, I know it probably starts early with kids anyway. So just give us a little view into that.
I'm fortunate to have a daughter that likes to go to bed on time. She goes to bed around 7 in the evening, so we have a couple hours of peace there if we want to watch TV or a movie or whatever, and that's nice. But I haven't had to set an alarm clock in quite some time, because she's like me. She's up at 6:30 or 7, ready to eat and ready to go do something, because by 8 o'clock half the day's gone. At least it feels that way. So here the last couple of years, I get up and hopefully every morning that I can, I see the kids, or the one kid that's actually paying attention at this point. And the beauty of the towing business, also one of the things that makes it a nightmare for people who don't love it. But the beauty of it to me is there's no monotony. So there is absolutely no telling when I wake up on a given day what it is I might be doing. I might hop in a truck and go work a wreck because everybody else is busy. I might be out in the shop doing repairs. I might go tow one of our own trucks back in if they have a tire blowout or something. I might be going to see customers. Could be in there dealing with HR type of stuff, updating driver files, or here lately with you, I've got to get the online stuff set up for health insurance, thanks to you, which my employees are very happy about that. So I appreciate you taking care of us in that respect.
Well, it's certainly an honor to work with you as a client. We've enjoyed it, even though it's been a short amount of time. We certainly have enjoyed getting to know you folks, and appreciate your confidence and trust in us, Evan. So
Sure. Well, that goes to your tailored protection that you guys offer, and I think that's an important thing for people to understand. Having an agent that you can talk to that's actually interested in what you've got going on and what they can do to help you, and it's not just, oh, okay, you've got X number of employees, X number of vehicles, whatever. Here's the policy. Here's the cost. Have a great day. See you next year.
yeah,
And that's very much not what you guys are about. And I think that's a special thing. I know I
well,
appreciate it.
well, I appreciate you saying so. We chose that term on purpose and try to live up to that, because whether it's a simple thing or a complex thing, everyone's needs are different. And if we don't approach it that way, then we're not really worth hiring for anything. That's how we look at it.
Sure, everybody has to win. That's a general business principle that seems to be forgotten a lot in our ultra. And I don't want anybody to think I'm taking a shot at capitalism, right? I am one. I love it. But like the problem with our ultra capitalist society is a lot of times we don't let off the gas enough to think about these things,
Mm-hmm.
and they matter.
Yeah, that's true, and it's important because at the end of the day, it's about people, and if you
Yes.
don't keep that in mind, you get lost in the dollars and the hours and whatever.
Absolutely, yeah, and the numbers and paper and all that, and what you see on the QuickBooks or whatever you use that's fine. That's a beautiful thing, but none of that is gonna all those numbers will end up being zero if you don't have people out there taking care of whatever it is you do. It doesn't matter if you're a security guard service or a tow operator or somebody running a grocery store.
That's right.
If you don't take care of the people that are out there actually bringing in the money and making things happen and keeping your customers happy, none of it's really going to work out for you.
That's exactly right, because in the end, as soon as you have someone working on your behalf, they become you, and how they feel about your business and the work they do translates into how they treat the people that they're serving. So
Absolutely.
it's a loop that you have to constantly keep in mind.
Yes, employees are like children. They watch everything you do and they absorb all of it. And if you don't set the right example, it will come back to bite you.
It will, and it'll come quickly.
Yes, and at the worst possible time.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
the universe loves a good win like that. And that's why you should work hard to be decent to others.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, tell me kind of what you feel like your biggest challenge in the business and work is. Is it people, technology, competitors? What is on the top of your list of things that give you the most pause or concern?
Well, I can speak about that in two directions a little bit. I can speak about that as far as my business is concerned, and then I can speak a little bit about that as to how it affects the industry overall. I think personally my biggest challenge is people, and I don't think that's very uncommon the last couple of years for anybody in any line of work in this country.
Right.
But and a lot of times the challenge, even if you have people, is maintaining good people.
Right.
And to an extent, that has something to do with the people you're hiring and what you can vet up front. But you can have a much greater effect on that, as a good manager or as a good boss. Again, laying out what you expect them to do and holding them to that standard. And most people, human nature, respond to that in a positive way.
Yes.
Because they know that you're not exempting yourself from anything that you're asking them to do.
Yeah.
So you can, a lot of times it falls.
Yeah, I think we may have a pause on our connection there, Evan.
Or just make time to train them the right way.
Yes, absolutely
So
true.
people are a challenge, but also the reality for most of us is if we buckle down, we can find a way to overcome those challenges. But it's it's a lot easier these days to say, well, I can't find anybody good.
Well, that's true. That's true. And making that investment in people for once you find the right person for training and taking care of them the right way, it makes a difference on the longevity of the relationship you're going to have.
Yes, you can take a company or any line item in a budget of a company from red to black in no time just by taking care of the people that are supposed to be handling whatever their task is, whether it's receivables or payables or maintenance, whatever it is.
Yes.
You can always turn that around by having a well-equipped person in position to do it.
Yes, that's very true. Very true. So let me ask this question, and it may sound kind of odd at first, but you just answer it how you feel is best given your context. How does what you do help other people?
Well, I mean, this is a service industry. Towing is a service industry, so certainly when we're working a wreck or something like that, we're trying to help not only the general public by clearing the road and getting traffic back open, but we're, hopefully the people involved weren't hurt and they're there, and we can try to make them feel a little bit better about the situation. They're having a bad day, right? And it doesn't matter if it's a wreck or just a breakdown. If you're having to call a tow truck, it's probably an unpleasant situation for you. And a wreck is just, that much more so. So we get an opportunity, if you approach it with the right mindset, to say, hey, how you doing? Sorry for your trouble. We'll take care of it. Here's our information. Talk to your insurance. If you don't have insurance, come see us. We'll figure out what we're going to do. It's not a big deal. Just try to, as one of my guys says, I'm just trying to be a blessing.
Yeah. That's
just
a great
try to go
approach.
out there and, right. Yeah, just think about it that way. Just try to take somebody's bad moment and make it a little bit better for them.
Yeah.
I spoke earlier a little bit about how it's not very monotonous, and then obviously accidents are one thing that make it not so, but it's also not monotonous to try to find different ways just to get somebody to smile just for a second, because they're having a bad day.
Yes.
You know that before you get there. So if you can approach it the right way and then say, okay, I'm going to do what I can to make this person's day just a little bit better. And it's not going to be much, but it'll be something.
Yeah. That's such a great, that's actually a great business tip right there that you're giving before I even get to the question. But approaching what you're doing that way makes you different than just an average person that's going to be called that don't think like that and has not been trained to think about that at all. So that sets you apart immediately.
Yes.
Well, how do you see the future unfolding for your business? I know there's lots of challenges. We talked about a couple of them. How do you see it unfolding going forward?
Well, lots of industries are worrying about being replaced by AI, and I think that towing is a very safe industry when it comes to that. We've got cars that can drive themselves, park themselves, stop if there's a problem. We've got pretty incredible AI when it comes to self-driving cars. That's not there yet, but it's coming. But I think we're a long way off before AI is loading up another vehicle and securing it in a way that it could be safely transported. There's going to have to be a person involved. Even if the tow vehicle drives itself, there's still going to have to be an operator there to secure whatever's being loaded for quite some time. It's just too much of a safety risk.
Yes.
So I think that in that regard, we're safe. Technology so far in the towing business is helping. It's making things easier. So that's not something that we have to fear at this point, like some industries do.
Right.
So I think we're in a good place. I think as far as longevity goes, I don't think that the towing industry is going anywhere anytime soon. And I don't think the number of vehicles on the road is going to go down.
No,
as long as there's vehicles on the road, there's going to be a need for our services one way or another, whether it's accidents, breakdowns, or somebody's towing their nice, 65 Corvette or whatever.
That's right.
As long as there's cars around, there's going to be a need for them to be transported and wrecks to be cleaned. So as far as that aspect of the future is concerned, I think we're safe. And I also think you're going to see some major safety improvements. And I think you're going to see, hopefully, it'll be a couple of decades from now, but I think you'll see more team operators in towing as time goes on. I certainly hope so. Just for general safety, and it would speed up the whole process. Because generally, when you're talking about towing, you're talking about on the side of the road or or a wreck. And anytime you're there, even when you're in your car, when you're there, you're in an unsafe place.
Mm-hmm.
And so the focus of our industry going forward is safety, safety, safety. What can we do? We work on the move over laws, which I'm sure people see commercials for and stickers for, for any flashing lights.
Right.
Just move over and give us a little bit of room. Because I can tell you, if you've never been broken down on the side of a highway, or God forbid I-40 somewhere, you have no idea what it's like to sit there and have vehicles moving by at 75 miles an hour about 20 inches away from you.
It is. It's unnerving.
If you're laying down on the road having to hook chains up, their straps up to a vehicle to pull it up on a rollback, there is no situation where you survive if that vehicle is hit.
That's right.
It's just not going to happen. If you're down there hooking it up or anywhere in front of it, the chances of survival are almost zero.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's really what we're focused on for the future, is trying to save lives of people in our industry and of the state employees and law enforcement and fire and EMS and all those people that are out there too.
Sure.
We don't want people getting hit on the side of the road. The roads are unsafe enough, and that's what we're focusing on with, like I said, the move over campaigns and trying to potentially update some of the lighting laws. Just trying to make ourselves as seen and as noticed as possible out there.
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely necessary, and it's also a huge challenge because of speed involved and the attention span of average or common drivers isn't always where it should be in terms of.
Well, sure, we touched on that earlier about just in general. People's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, and now there's more distractions than ever.
Mm-hmm.
When you're behind the wheel of a car. You stand on the sidewalk out in front of a gas station and just watch people go by and see how many are looking into their phone.
Yes.
And if you don't get angry pretty quickly, I'll commend you.
Well, maybe you shouldn't be commended if you're not angry about that, Evan.
Well, yeah.
But I hear you. Well, let's wrap up with you telling us what your best bottom line business tip is. That's kind of what we're about in the podcast, is either helping someone that's already in business or helping someone that's getting ready to start by giving a bottom line tip from someone already successful in the business. So with that thought in mind, what would you say yours is?
I think it's easy, and I almost hate to put this out there on the internet where somebody might hear it, because it's a very simple thing, and I've made the joke a bunch of times that I don't understand why more people don't know this, but it's very simple. Treat people well. The easier way to say that is follow the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Treat others the way you want to be treated. If you stick to that, you will find that your customer service exceeds 95% of other businesses. How many times do you walk into a business? Let's take fast food, for example, because this is an easy one. How many times do you walk into or go to a drive-thru at a fast food restaurant where you feel like anybody there cares that you're there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, what if you go to Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, it's different.
Have you ever been there? You go
Yes.
to Chick-fil-A? I love it.
It's different.
So it's like a different world.
Yes.
I can count on one hand the times that I've had bad service. And I'm not talking about how it takes a long time or the mistake on your order. I'm just talking about somebody not doing the right thing and saying, hey, how are you today?
Right.
We're happy to see you. We're glad you're here. It's really that easy.
Yes.
Good customer service is the easiest, conceptually, is the easiest thing to understand. And it is by far the most overlooked thing in business in general.
It is.
And if you can simply treat people right, it will take you very little time to have extreme growth in your business, because people find that desirable. And again, it's not just think about your general interactions with other people in public. Like, do you enjoy talking to somebody who's a jerk? No, of course not. Nobody does. So, it's the same way in business.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be put on in this fake, obviously, this obvious facade that you put up while you're at work. Like, just be genuinely decent to people.
Yes.
and you will see success.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a great tip, and like all great tips, it has a lot of common sense and practical application. So that's absolutely a good one.
Yeah, back to basics.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say back to basics. I mean, there's
Yeah.
been entire books written by people, business professionals, telling you in 1,000 pages what you could say in 10 words. Be decent to others. Be honest. Treat people the way you want to be treated. It's like that's the whole book.
Yes.
You don't have to write it down. You can say it in 5 seconds.
There you go. That is right. That's right. That's great advice. I appreciate you taking time to come on the podcast and talk with us, and I'm sure that's going to be helpful to people. And you have a wonderful evening, and get home and love on those babies some. And we'll talk to you here in the future. Okay.
Well, thank you for the invite, Bill. I appreciate it.
Okay. You have a great evening, Evan.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's a wrap for today's Business Bottom Line podcast. Take that tip and make your bottom line turn from red to black. Next week, we'll talk with another special guest, and we'll see you right here next time in the Jewel City of the Mountains, Greenville, Tennessee. This is the Stash saying we're here to inspire, inform, and improve your bottom line so you can grow, grow, grow.